Check it out, it's your boy, Wild Wayne, holding it down from Q93. But I'm also holding it down on some entrepreneurship, some philanthropy. I'm a podcaster, lightweight foodie. I get it in. But today, I'm on that mic check with Stylist B.
Mic check with Stylist B. Mic check with Stylist B. Mic check with Stylist B. Mic check with Stylist B.
Yeah, we are here. Yes.
Hello, and welcome back to the Set of Mic Check with me, the one and only Stylist B, where we're continuing to bring you the latest and greatest. And when I think of greatness, my next guest comes to mind. We're talking on-air personality, now podcast host, all-around philanthropist, and just really culture bringer, New Orleans native, Mr. Wildwayne.
Yeah, victory.
I can't play with you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. I missed the first opportunity.
You did. I forget.
And I was coming. But see, what had happened was, it was one of them moments.
Oh, okay. What happened?
But I'm here now.
Yes, you are. So we tried to get him on season 1, but the schedule did not permit. But that's okay, because here you are, season 2.
And this is going to be the best season ever anyway.
That's right. That's right. So before we get started, and I'm pretty sure everyone in NOLA and all around the world knows who you are, but just to be safe, you got to look in the camera and tell them who you are and what you do.
So, for all my people out there, love. Wild Wayne. I do radio by trade with iHeartMedia, and I've done it for a couple of years, give or take a few years. But I started doing radio in college, and it was just something to get books and beer money, and it blossomed into a career, and it's been a very good one. Obviously with that, I've done tons of music stuff with a number of artists, some of the household names, you know, that revolutionized hip-hop, Cash Money, No Limit, just to name a few. Bounce, the whole bounce sound, you know, I was one of the pioneers of putting that on radio in the early 90s. But additionally, outside of radio, which is one of my loves.
Yes.
I also am a podcaster now. I started a podcast called Wild Wayne Unchained, and it was just a very important piece to me to maintain culture here in the city and be able to document it properly, not like some newspaper in New York or California. So the podcast world is an integral part of what I do in content development. You know, that's a big thing that I'm working on, and the podcast is one of the rungs of that ladder.
Yeah.
Additionally, I'm like a foodie, like a for real foodie, I'm kind of trying to be a chef,
okay,
but I'm a cook right now.
Okay.
So, and there's a difference.
It's like you sang, you sang. It's the
right. Now they sang.
Right. I sing, but they sang.
I give them that mad respect, because, you know, they go through culinary school or they do big things. I'm just kind of, you know, I'm a weekend warrior with it. Yeah,
okay.
But my plating game is serious.
Okay.
It's all I'm serious.
Well, we're going to get into all of that for sure.
And plenty more. I do a lot of stuff.
And I want to make sure we at least tap into some of that. So first, I know you said you started radio in college, but I do want to figure out, like, what made Wayne say to himself, I would like to be Wild Wayne on radio?
To be very honest with you, I had no desire to do radio.
That's how it happens.
I didn't even listen to the radio in college.
Are you serious?
I swear. Like, I'm going to date myself, but I was cassettes, you know what I'm saying? Or CDs, and that was it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had a pretty wide musical taste, you know, reggae, a lot of hip-hop, obviously, in college. Little R&B then.
Okay.
My palette has diversified.
Well, we thank you for coming on over.
Right. Come to the light. But I didn't want to do radio at all. I decided that I was a grown man. Okay. And I was moving out of my parents' house. I'm out. But I didn't know they had that many bills.
Right.
I didn't know I had to buy paper towels. I didn't know I needed a shower curtain.
Preferably.
Right. And I still need to put gas in my hoopty. So I fooled around and lost my scholarship, because I was on academic scholarship at Xavier University. And so I had to hustle. You know, my dad said, you lost your scholarship, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to remain in school, so I got 3 jobs.
Okay.
And did school. So one of them ended up being an opportunity to work with radio.
Okay.
It wasn't an on-air position. It was a research position in a research department. And did that for maybe a week, and I was like, this is pretty boring. Because my job was, hello, Q93, what would you like to hear? Like, there's some boring crap here. So I started being a show producer for the guy. His name was Davey D at that particular time, who was pretty iconic in New Orleans. And we formed a synergy, and I got on with him as a co-host and a show producer versus just the phone guy. And he eventually got another job in another market. It became mine, and I've never turned back.
Okay.
That's how that happened.
That's how it happened. See, everything happens for a reason.
Now, were you always a stylist?
No, I'm never a stylist. Stylist is my name.
I know, but I see all of these little fits you be putting together
I
online.
Stylish.
Okay.
Right. Oh, and I did have a boutique at one point. Yes.
Maybe that's what I remember.
That's probably what you remember.
Did you always want to do acting? And
I did.
Really?
I always wanted. And look, you're not gonna flip it on me because I know what you're doing here. You know when you used to be in the interviewer, and I almost fell for it. I almost was like, actually, I'm glad you asked. No. You get to ask all the questions any other time. We trying to get all up in Wayne's world.
Come on,
okay?
welcome
So
to Wayne's world.
You lost a scholarship, but you bounced back because you wanted to stay in school.
I
Shout out
did.
to Xavier. Okay.
And actually, I was biology pre-med.
Oh, no, that was my major.
Really, I was not anything media, zero media. I wanted to be a doctor.
I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I'm not. I didn't want to be a pediatrician, but I knew I wanted to do entertainment. I wanted my backup plan to be something that would be decent money. Mm-hmm. And I loved kids, and I felt like they couldn't say what was wrong. So if I was going to be a doctor, I'd rather be, a doctor to little babies and kids. And so I was like, okay, I'll do a pediatrician as the backup plan.
I wanted to be a veterinarian.
See, do you love animals?
I used to.
Oh, what changed?
Life.
Okay.
I was like, I can't see me living my life cleaning up poop from dogs and cats and giving them shots and scratching me and hair all up. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to be a regular doctor maybe. But then, life got in the way, and my
or showed you the way.
My book was written already. I'm convinced that my book was already written.
Absolutely.
I had scholarships across the country for academics. I chose Xavier because they had the best placement in medicine and secondary education. So I'm just convinced.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to be.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I always say life doesn't get in the way; it shows you the way. Because you have like your vision of what you're supposed to do, but then it's like, no, this is actually the plan. Like I couldn't imagine Q93 without Wild Wayne. Right. I just couldn't imagine
the book was written,
and even your voice lends itself to on-air personality. It's vibrant, it's exciting. Keep on coming. Keep on coming. I'm being serious. Right. You know when it's Wayne on the radio. You know what I'm saying, and that means a lot. Everybody doesn't have that.
It's crazy. There's people that always hit me. Post Katrina, so many people moved to other areas around the country. But a lot of them relatively close, i.e. Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Jackson. So that's something you always see people posting, like, I know I'm back home when I turn that radio on and I hear Wild Wayne, and that's always humbling to me,
But it's true, like, you don't realize the things that make home until something like Katrina happens and you leave.
Right.
And those things you took for granted or that you just assumed was a part of your everyday life are no longer. Exactly. Exactly. So to come back and hear, Wayne, Q93, that is home. That's a piece of home. So you have created part of New Orleans culture. Moment of silence. That's all. Okay, so because you do. You know that you've been doing this. So, okay, you're doing radio. Obviously, you said you never left, so that's why you're here today. A career of longevity. Yeah. How do you transition to philanthropy? What makes you want to do that?
A long time ago, I used to do every single club. I was resident hot boy, right? But not just local. I did a lot of out-of-town clubs, so that was just kind of my MO for such a long time. And then it came to a space where I finally had a son.
Okay.
And big shout out to my son. He just graduated from college up at ULL. So
Okay.
high five, son.
High five from here too.
And he can get out of my pocket sooner.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not co-signing. Do what you need to do.
Get her pocket. So like I figured out that I had to kind of change myself a little bit because I needed to be an example to my son. Right. And you have to start early. You can't start when your kid makes 12 trying to be a great example. You got to start from the start.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that a lot of kids have in society. And I was like, I don't want my kid to fall by the wayside. So philanthropy was not the first thought.
Okay.
But I did want to create some programming for kids to have impactful summers, right?
Okay.
I wasn't satisfied with what was going on around the city. I didn't think Nord was all of that back then.
Okay.
They've made lots of improvements.
Right.
But in this particular time and space, it was time for me to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was primarily for my son, but I dealt with so many youth, I was like, this would be good for groups of kids, right? So that's what I started doing, and I've been doing these camps for 19 years now.
That's crazy.
The wildwayne Summer Experience. I started my nonprofit back then, the Benjamin Foundation. And then from a philanthropic standpoint, I also lend me to a lot of different causes. So if you can use me for my little celebrity, or if you can use me as a guest speaker to impart some wisdom or knowledge on something that's going on, I do a lot of it. I've probably spoken at every school in the city 10 times over. A bazillion events. Sometimes I make donations where I think they're applicable, but I just think it's very important because since I am the owner of a nonprofit, I know how tough it is to raise money, especially for black folks.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that intentionally. Because I think sometimes some of the non-black nonprofits and some of the people that come in from out of town that are not true blue New Orleanians, they get more and do less.
That's heartbreaking.
I'm very unapologetic about that.
Yeah,
So-
well, because it's factually present. Like, you can see it in some of the things you do, and sometimes around the city. And a lot of times I feel like we, as people who have been here, are somehow out of the loop as to where to get this money or where to go. And then when the information is provided, we don't make the move.
Right.
So it's difficult.
I think sometimes it's partially our fault to a degree when we don't follow leads or go online and do the research necessary. But there is another network in place that we are not privy to.
Right.
And they look out for each other
Yeah.
way more than we are doing, and partially because we don't have enough people in positions of power or people signing the checks to really make that happen. So it's unfortunate, but I don't ever let it step in front of me and stop me. Like, there's enough great people in this city that understand my passion and my drive for youth that it always comes. And if I got to pay for the whole thing out of my pocket, I don't even care.
And you're also like creating a way you're almost being like a medium for others by allowing them to use your celebrity, your status to host events, to speak, or what have you. So you're being a part of the solution. Yeah. And that's a good thing.
If it can help draw people to their events and make their events more successful, or if I can help bring some professionalism to what they do and some experience, I'm game, because if you look good, then I look good. Right. So that's what I believe in.
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Something else I see in our community, and I think it's getting better, but the old saying, the crab in the barrel mentality, or like it's not enough out there for everyone. So sometimes I feel like a lot of people want to keep stuff to themselves when they find out or when they're preview to information. And it's like, if we shared more, we gain more together than separate.
I don't look at it. You hear people saying that all the time. Oh, New Orleans has a crab in the barrel. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and
it's an American thing.
I don't think it's specifically here,
but a lot of
because
people
we're talking about
people
here.
feel like it's just in New Orleans.
Oh no,
but
no.
It happens everywhere. But I also do things quite often, and not all the time. But the people that put in the most work get the most, and a lot of the people that are whining and complaining about things are not doing that same amount of work.
Right.
My success is not by accident.
Right.
Well, although I do think the book is written, like we previously said, like I outwork my competition.
Yeah.
You cannot outwork me.
Right.
Right? And that's why I've had success. And I've been blessed with a couple of skill sets that make it good. But you always have to make yourself irreplaceable.
Yeah.
You have to do some unique things that no one else can do. Like no one else can be Wild Wayne.
Right.
They can be another host.
But they can't be Wild
They
Wayne.
can't be me. My story is too rich and too many experiences to build to what I've become. You know what I'm saying? You can be the best you, but you can't ever be me.
Right.
So it's not crabs in a barrel, I don't believe, but people have to work harder.
Yeah.
And there's always adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't always believe that. There's a little truth to it. But
I think, it's
not as prevalent as some people say. Some people just want a handout. Some people don't want to put in the work. Some people have things that get in their way.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how I feel about it.
No, I agree. I think it's a little bit of all that you said. You know, all that you said, from putting in the work, from maybe a little bit of the crab in the barrel, from even just not being able to put themselves out there, not following leads. And I think that's something that the audiences can take. How many times any of you watching right now can think of a time where somebody said, shoot me an email or send me a text or whatever, and I'll get back to you, and you don't. And it's a missed opportunity.
Like coming to season 1 and I didn't make it.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
She was going there. She was going there.
But I kept calling. I kept texting.
Persistent. She was persistent.
Because I know what's for me, it's gonna be for me. So that's how you should be in life. You know what I mean? So as much as I do believe that there are some things out there that's like, oh, that's not fair, that's not cool, and even the networks we're talking about, I do believe too that your faith is in your hands. And for me, if I'm not allowed in a certain room, I'll build a whole building next door.
Right.
Period.
And you know what? That's interesting. I just had a conversation with some people, and they were like, you know, we do this, and these people do this, and we're the same. Why would they do that? I was like, no, you're doing you, and they're doing them. So either stop complaining or do it better.
Right.
Or create something more unique. I did music conferences for a very long time. They were called the Industry Influence Music Conference.
I remember those.
Right.
Lots of friends and artists.
It was good stuff, right?
Yeah, it was.
But you know, a couple of other people did some music events, and they were like, "Oh man, wow, Wayne's gonna be this." And I was like, "No, I'm not mad. Like this is what I do. I built it. I did like 60 of them, right? Like so, I can't service everybody.
Yeah,
it's impossible." So they need another one of these, right?
Right.
And whatever it is, quite often, if it's not a music conference, there's room for more than one. So people have to stop thinking about it like crab in a barrel. Do your thing better than they do it.
Right. And that's so funny that you mentioned that. That is what confuses me. So, like, I have children's books. A girl said...
You got children?
I have children, yes.
How many?
I have 2.
Okay. I'm not interviewing you. You're interviewing me.
I have 2.
I didn't know. I have 3.
7 and 1, just so now you know.
Okay.
2 boys.
Okay.
But and that's the inspiration behind the children's books, because you know I have children's books. So did you think I just?
Well, you're a creative, so you never know.
You're right.
But see, that's kind of similar. I started my camp for my son.
Right, and so that's why I say I get that. Like kids motivate you to do and be better.
Right.
You know, I wasn't writing children's books before I had kids. I was doing stage plays and music and poetry. Right. But once I had him, he was an early reader, and he looked at me and said, "How come none of the characters in my book, or the books that he loved, look like him?" And that just. Because I'm supposed to be the best mom in the world.
What you say? We about to fix this.
Exactly. But I say that to say this. So a lot of people used to come up to me once they saw the book and say, "Oh my God, it's so amazing. You know, I really want to write, but everybody writing books now."
But you know, people have been writing books
forever
since the Egyptians, right?
But I just thought
on
it was
papyrus
crazy
leaves.
because I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Right,
so you know, initially, and it's it's a lot. It's younger people. Well, I don't know, 2 of them were older. You know,
right.
But I'm always gonna uplift. I'm never gonna leave you where you are. But it was just amazing to me because I'm like, I don't read one book. You won't read one book. You need more books. There is room for everyone.
That's
and
a perfect example.
I just simply said, I was like, how many books have you read? She said, huh? I'm like, how many books? She's an avid reader, one specific person I'm talking about. She's like, maybe 50. I said, all by the same author? Oh, no. I mean, it's 50 books. I was like, okay, so there's room for everyone. I'm like, that needs to happen. You have to.
You killed them.
Thank you. I tried to uplift, just to see it differently. Like, you can't say, oh, so since they're doing that, I can't do it.
Hey,
I mean, you host the radio show. You're not the only host in the world.
And there's tons of them. But I just bring a different, unique skill set.
And that's what you should do. And even with anything you're doing, you're going to bring your story, your history, your mannerisms, your upbringing, whatever, to the table, and that's what sets you apart. You know what I mean? I factually have never heard another Wild Wayne. You know what I mean? I can stand by you and say that. And that's what it should be, though. Nor should I desire to hear another Wild Wayne, though. I got Wild Wayne. I want to hear the other people.
I tell this to rappers, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's already Migos. There's already Lil Wayne. There's already Future. Like, you do not want to emulate their style. There's already an NBA young boy. Yeah. It will get you some success, but it's going to be short-lived. Yeah. You have to... The unique ones are the ones that stand the test of time. There'll never be another Whitney Houston. Right. There'll never be another Lil Wayne.
Okay, Erykah Badu.
They have... Like, when people emulate, it's a quick fix. And it's not just New Orleans. And it's not just this time period. If you go back in music to the 40s and 50s, there were 12 different singers that all did falsetto, right? You know what I'm saying? They were all wanting to be Little Richard at one particular time. You know what I'm saying? There was a bunch of them that wanted to be Elvis. You know? Like, whoever's the hot, people will emulate. But the ones that have longevity are unique. So... Your books, I'm sure, are unique of the other ones that are out there.
They are very unique.
I haven't read it yet.
Well, when we get to the end of the show, I might have a little something for you.
But I need them for my summer camp.
Well, now that is a real conversation we need to have. Okay. Not that I planned that at all.
Really?
Just, an opportunity presents itself. You see what we're trying to show you here when it knocks, you open the door, greet them with a smile.
Hello, come on in.
So I do have a random question. So I always wondered why Wild Wayne. I know I get it WW, but why Wild Wayne?
It was never like...
Could have been like Winning Wayne.
Oh, God. No.
Could have been like Wonderful Wayne. Let me see what else.
So remember I told you I lost that scholarship?
Yes.
It wasn't because I wasn't smart.
I figured that.
So I went to Holy Cross, right?
Okay.
And that was across the canal. I was in the Ninth Ward. And to be honest with you, it was probably about 98% white. Okay. Got a great education. Okay. Didn't have a lot of social skills. Okay. But then went to Xavier, which is probably 99.5% black.
Right. You went from one scale to the other. One spectrum to the other.
One polar side to the other. Yes. So, and Holy Cross is all boys. So, Xavier had some of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen in my life. And it was, it was Chocolate City. It was... so many.
Shout out to all the chocolate women.
There were so many queens out there, right? I couldn't just have one.
Oh my goodness.
And I just did a lot of partying. And we started throwing these parties, and I was just really Wild Wayne Unchained for real before Wild Wayne name came, and so that became kind of my little thing, like you know what I'm saying. And I didn't want to be just Wayne, and we threw it in there with me and the guy Davey D that I was talking about. He said, let's call you Weird Wayne. I was like, hell no. Damn, Weird Wayne.
I think that one has the same ring to it.
And then I said, Wild Wayne. And it just kind of stuck. So, like, I really, you have different chapters of your life, and that was a chapter that really I was having a good time, we'll say.
Well,
a very good time.
Here's the good times had by all. It's a part of life and growth. Right. And you were able to find your name and your brand within it all. Yeah, so that's what matters most. So now we're Wild Wayne Unchained. Mm-hmm. So first you have to tell me what sparked the idea to do a podcast, because you've been on air for so long.
Yeah. Well, I've listened to podcasts for maybe about 5 or 6 years, something around that, because I listened primarily for the longest time to real estate podcasts. Okay. Because there was a lot of information there from lay people. Okay. Not necessarily bankers or these real estate people that were talking a mile a minute and using all these terms that you weren't familiar with. Because it was, I had already had some property and I did a lot of reading. But it was interesting to hear the stories of other people that had gone through the real estate process. So I was listening to those. And then there was some called Serial, I think they're called. Okay. And not cereal you eat, but it was about like serial killers. Oh, okay. But it was just so well orated that it's like really watching something. But if you got earbuds in, it's like a movie. Right. It's like an auditory movie. But then, so that was my thing. And then in the last maybe 24 months or so, like there's a lot of steam and momentum behind podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, I know what I want mine to sound like. Because I do a lot of interviews. I've done some groundbreaking interviews, especially when it comes to New Orleans people and or artists via regular radio, terrestrial radio, digital radio. But there's always a thing when you don't own it, where you have to play by someone else's rules.
Yeah.
So for me, I like to talk, right? And I want to find out everything, and you have to condense that on radio and make it 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I could not really put the textures and the layers of who makes Stylist B in 3 minutes.
Right.
Because you're only seeing the end product.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever's hot at the time. But there's a lot of things that happen to get you to that space.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do, and make a podcast that was going to focus on New Orleans or Louisiana or Southern culture, cuisine, and lifestyle.
Nice.
And, we have so many colorful people in our city. We have so many great cultural pieces that are nowhere else. And people want to know, why are there Mardi Gras Indians? Or why did Mardi Gras start? Or, what is a praline? What is a king cake? What I'm saying? You can see pictures if you're in Germany.
Right.
Or if you're in Los Angeles. But I wanted to create stories of these particular things and do it properly with the context historically of what built that thing or that person to what they are, and create a soundscape that was going to educate you in some form or fashion, was going to be witty and compelling, and for it to be relevant 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Or 20 years from now. And we doing us, right? My hashtag for it is #we control the narrative. And I use that ad nauseum. Because we have to do this. I think it's cool for Joe Bob from LA to come and interview a New Orleans artist, but you still don't get it. You'll never get it, right?
Right.
And it's better for us to tell the stories of our people than anyone else. So that's what we decided to do. And it's been very successful, hugely successful so far. I mean, more successful than I anticipated this quickly.
Well, first of all, that's what we want to happen, right? Whenever we decide to do something, that it becomes successful and exceed our own expectations.
Man.
But then I think, too, everyone is so in love with the culture here, so to have someone who is part of the culture, be able to educate them and share with them and do it in a way in which you want to do it.
Right.
I don't see why they wouldn't be tuning in.
It's Wild Wayne Unchained. Yes.
Now tell them where they could listen to it and check out all the new episodes coming up.
Okay. So I would be. I have to say I have a co-host.
Okay.
He's not here, but his name is Sean A. Royal.
Okay.
Longtime friend of mine. Had never even listened to a podcast. I said, "Good, you're perfect." Very opinionated guy. So he's on the podcast. Season 1 was incredible.
Okay.
We had Loretta from Loretta's Authentic Pralines. We had Mia X.
Okay.
We had we did a session over at Whiskey and Sticks, which is Kelda Summers' cigar and high-end whiskey bar. And then we had Miss Beverly McKenna on that episode as well, and Fans Vocason, and just a lot of people that are great New Orleanians, right?
Yes. Staples.
Yeah, so people can check it out. We're on all the major platforms. Apple Podcast, Podbean is our platform, so you can go to that. We have Spotify, Spreaker.com is another avenue. And then there's a bunch of subsidiary sites that just grab the RSS feed and put it up. So it's all over. And then we have a website, which is www.wildwayneunchained.com, which you can get to all of the episodes there. We're currently
one-stop shop.
Yeah, we're in season 2 now. So yeah, it's good stuff.
You're on season 2, talking about your season 2. I like it.
Right.
I like it.
We're running parallel. We're running
just
parallel.
Getting it done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of the reason for us starting this is we wanted to give artists here a platform. I mean, we plan on expanding and growing, but that was a big thing to be able to tell their story, because on social media it just looks like, oh, you start and you have this great turnout. And none of the back work. You know what I mean? Like, even now, anybody listening to you, if I'm listening, a student's listening, my child's listening, it's like you've been doing radio. No one knows how you got there, your struggles to get there. They don't know about the Xavier University and the 3 jobs. And, and so that was kind of what this was about. We wanted to sit down and have real conversations with really successful people and hope to make a real impact. For people who are out there and trying to get it done, and they may be at a point where it's just, they feel like it's not happening. And then you say you lost your scholarship, and they like, oh, that's why they thought it wasn't going to happen. And now they know it can still.
And you got to tell people, man, there's going to be roadblocks.
Yeah.
Some of them are intentionally put in front of you to see what you're made of.
And do you want it?
Right? So you have to figure out, do you want it? Like, when I was in college and doing radio, like, I missed out on a lot of parties.
Yeah.
Because I was in there trying to hone my craft. My boy's like, oh, we're going to party. We're going to kickback. I was like, I'm going to come when I'm done.
Right.
And sometimes, like, I'm, like, kind of anal about how the end product needs to sound. So if it doesn't sound right, like what is supposed to take 30 minutes may take me 3 hours. But I know it's going to be the best quality product. Sometimes something that's supposed to take 30 minutes might take me 5 minutes.
Right, if it just comes together.
It happens that way sometimes. So quite often my people were partying and doing their thing and this, that, and the other. By the time I was finished, everything was done, over. But I don't regret not a minute of it. Like, you got to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? You have to put in the work, and you have to really make sure that whatever your product is better than the rest.
That's it.
Whatever it takes to make it better than the rest.
Right. And that also means that you should be researching what's out there, too, when you're about to put something out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel like you're the first person to have an idea, and the moment you Google, your whole feelings hurt.
Face drop?
Right. Oh, they've been here since 1995. Right. So we're going to play a quick little game. Okay. Games. It's called Wayne's World.
Okay.
You're really just telling us all your tea. Okay.
Ooh, Lord.
So I'm going to ask you a question, basically, that's pertaining to Wayne's World, and you're just going to tell me, the answer. That's it.
Okay.
Easy enough.
It doesn't seem like it's going to be quite that easy.
I think it's going to be fun.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
We shall see.
All right. Who was your favorite artist to ever interview?
Who was my favorite artist to ever interview?
And you've interviewed a lot.
A lot. I'm going to give you my top 2.
Okay. I was going to actually let you do top 5. But if you only can do 2, I'm good with that.
Lil Wayne.
Okay.
Like, only because we did a very long interview, and I was told by the powers that be, make it short. And I was like, no.
It's Wayne.
It's Wayne, right?
When the Waynes get together.
And I got it out him, right? Because so many times he refused to do interviews with people because they twisted him up or they had negative connotations. And so he wouldn't do it with a lot of people. You got great sound bites normally from Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
I got out.
You got
right?
it all.
We talked about everything. And it was just a really great interview. It was great because it flowed well. We talked about a lot of great things. But then it went viral afterwards.
Wow.
So, every major publication that dealt with music posted or reposted it or dissected it or whatever. That was a really, really good one. Actually, another interview that I really did like, a throwback one, was LL Cool J.
Okay.
Because
Lady Love?
Right, yeah, tongue and all of that foolishness.
He wasn't doing that during the interview.
No, don't play them games. Because I thought he was going to be very full of himself.
Yeah, too cool for school. Yeah.
And he was not. He was very, very interesting and very easy to talk to and not full of himself like I thought he was going to be, man. He's consummate professional.
Nice.
So that was a really good one, too.
Okay.
That I really liked.
Okay. Have you ever fanned out while doing an interview?
Fanned out.
You like anybody oh my God.
Was I a stand for anybody? Was I a stand for any interviews?
And this can go to earlier days because you're a vet now, so
right,
you
right,
might
right,
be
right.
like,
I won't say stand, but like I really, when I interviewed 50 Cent, like, because I really thought he was gonna be a pompous jerk, and he was not. He was the consummate professional too, and very educated, and so I won't say that was a stand moment, but that one was pretty impressive. Oh, I did. This was a phone interview, but with Barack Obama.
oh, okay.
So I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of a stand for Barack because, you know, to have a black president and I'm on the phone with him, like, what's up, dog?
If this is
I was
any
like,
indication,
what? Right?
I would have found out.
Right. And then he invited me to the White House. So
Did you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't?
Right.
For a youth summit that they did, and he included me, and since I was doing philanthropic work and had my nonprofit and do kids stuff, he invited me out there during Christmas time. So Christmas in the White House is very unique and original, and they do all kind of Christmassy stuff there. And, but that might have been my stand moment.
Okay. It's allowed.
Right. Okay.
It was the president of the United States.
The voters, right?
Okay. What was the hardest time in your career? Like, if you could think of a moment where it was like looking a little grim.
When the guy Davey D that I was telling you about earlier, who I started with many moons ago, and then after that they brought in a guy named Mike Fox, who was another great professional. I didn't get picked up after Davey. We were this dynamic duo, ratings through the roof, really set an incredible foundation for radio in New Orleans, period. And then they brought in the guy Mike Fox. And he stayed for a while, and then he ended up getting a job up in Chicago. And then they paired me with Uptown Angela for a little while as this team, but didn't really work out so good. And I think they just had other plans for her. So at that point, I really was like, I'm done with radio. Because I was still in college. So I was like, I'm going to just get my degree, and I'm going to go for that.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, man, I was done. I was so done. Yeah. But, you know, LBJ from News with a Twist, we both 7 hard heads, right? And he's a radio vet. He's a consummate professional, right? And he was like, you have really a special talent. Yeah. You should stick with this. He said, I know what has occurred last couple of times when you got looked over. But he said, you should stick with it. I said, well, if anybody else would have said it, I probably would not have. But he was always 100 with me. And that will probably be one of those times where that was that breaking point for me. Yeah. I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be a doctor. I'll be fine. I'll buy the radio station when I want it. You know.
In their face.
Right. But then they ended up giving me the spot not long after that. So imagine if I had walked away. They would have given it to somebody else, and the story, the history would have been completely changed. Yeah. Right.
That's crazy too, how just one person with one decision, that one influence could, affect your whole life. And now you're doing that for a lot of other artists, which is crazy.
Because I told them, I'm quitting. I'm out of this thing.
No, you're not. You're not, though. And here you are today. So I appreciate that he even sat down and talked to you, and that you held on longer so that we could have this moment right here.
Because it would have never happened,
Exactly. So there you go. You got to keep pushing. And it also shows you how, no matter how hard you're working, you got to keep going, because that breakthrough is right on the other side.
Right there.
So thank you for coming. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I know you got a lot to do.
We're going to do some Wild Wayne stuff.
Exactly.
We're going to a rooftop or something.
Leave, don't show off. Before you leave, I do have a gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
Just a little thank you for all that you do in the community.
Is it a check for my nonprofit?
No, it's not. It's not. Don't want you to get excited.
Oh, look, we got some books.
Yeah, so I got you the New Orleans. Perfect. And I have the New York in the bag for you. That's the paper bag.
Yes.
Just for your little one,
Okay.
And then, of course, I got you some mic check stuff.
Oh, yeah. I need that.
Yeah, we got to have
that. Is it a 2X?
No.
So you telling me I need to get in the gym? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I need to move down a size?
I sent you a form to fill out, see what had happened.
See what had happened was.
So that I could have your size. But I can't switch it out for you because you are Wild Wayne. Okay?
Or I could just go to the gym.
Whichever you choose. I support whatever decision you make. So make sure you all continue to tune in on Hey You, what's your name? You're on the radio with your boy Wild Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Spit your bars. Spit your bars.
What you want? What you want from me?
Bars.
Okay, let me see. I gotta get it, can't quit it. It ain't no hoping and wishing. Big
Okay.
man done gave me your vision. I execute with precision.
Okay.
No chill. So today I will elevate to greatness. Lazy asses hate. Until next time, remember, never let anyone dim your light or mute your mic. Wayne is trying to turn it around on me, but I will not back down from a challenge, and I will not be moved. This is your host from Mic Check with Stylist B and the wonderful Wild Wayne from FMQ 93 and now Wild Wayne Unchained. Today, until next time, remember, never let anyone dim your light or mute your mic. Peace.
Thank you for having
Thank you
me,
for
darling.
coming.